It's the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and this is a Tay Short. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm quickly approaching my 1 year anniversary for my podcast. It's crazy. 1 year, almost here. Thank you for all those who participated, who listened, supported. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Couldn't have done this without you. Thank you. But I just wanted to come on here and quickly discuss one of the main reasons I started this. And I'm sure I mentioned it before, and I mentioned it while talking to other guests. But just want to mention it again if you missed it. This podcast, it is to showcase, of course, the things that I'm into. Skating, cycling, traveling, and all these other activities that people do to enhance their mental and their physical well-being. And I'm fortunate enough to know people and connect with people to interview them, about these certain activities and what it means to them and how they got into it and all that other stuff. When I started doing these activities, I've always been an outdoor person. I've always been an active person, but in my adulthood, cycling and getting back into skating, and now discovering, I enjoy hiking. These things weren't seen as a quote unquote black thing. Some friends and family would say, oh, that's not a black thing. And not to say that they did it maliciously, but they just would comment sometimes, and sometimes it'd be joking, or I don't know, I guess it was a joke. I don't know. Or they just really felt like that. Oh, that's not a black thing. And, it's like, that's ignorance to say that, right? And again, no, nothing against my family and friends who might have said that. Because I think what they should have said is, I don't know any black people that do that. Or none of my friends that are black do that. The people that I grew up around don't do that. Not that it's not a black thing. Because I met plenty of other black people who do the same activities or these activities. And when they say that stuff, I would just look at them like, what? What do you mean? What? No black people camp? Like, what? Or, that's not a black thing. Then what's a black thing? Please let me know. Let me know so I can do the black thing. So when starting this podcast, I definitely wanted to interview black people who did these quote unquote non-black things, because I can't be the only one. And I'm not, and I think that, as we get older and as we grow and as our circles expand and as we're able to travel and able to meet different people, we see that, black people aren't the monolith. Did I say that right? Did I say that word right? We're not all the same, and we are into different things. And contrary to a lot of people's belief, we've been doing these quote unquote non-black things for a long time. You know, we've been in these spaces. It may have not been many of us. We may not be in these spaces anymore, but we've been in these spaces. You know, trust and believe. It's documented in history. I've looked it up. So when people make comments like, oh yeah, you know, black people are now just getting into cycling. No, black people have been in cycling. I have newspaper articles from the late 1800s on cycling clubs all over the United States. Black cycling clubs all over the United States. You know? So, again, with me saying all that, this podcast, I wanted to showcase everyone who is doing these activities for their, you know, that they really enjoy. But especially black people that are doing these activities, you know. And yeah. And if you're thinking about doing these activities, whomever you are, and just don't know how to get started, there are groups, there are Facebook groups, there are meetup groups. There's probably Reddit groups. Like it all over. You can find you can find your tribe, so to speak. You know, even on Instagram, you probably can find groups and activities for the activity that you want to do. So even if you're the only one in your immediate circle that wants to do this type of thing, trust me, there are other people out there who do the same thing. No one in your group is into hiking? Fine. Find a group. Like most of my friends growing up, you know, as we got older, you know, no one's really riding a bike anymore. We put up the skates. We're not really, you know, we're not doing those things anymore. And then I got back into it. So, all right, if I don't want to go alone, let me find a group of people who enjoy doing this activity. And I found them, you know. So, I say all that to say, black people are outside, are outdoors, and once you do decide to do whatever activity you want to do, go at your own pace, find your group, and enjoy it. Yeah. So, thanks again for all your support and listening to the podcast. I welcome the feedback. And, yeah. This has been the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, a.k.a. Tay, and this is Tay Short.